Jack, I'm going to start with yourself. I was looking through the reactions to Pennyworth, and is this legitimately the first time we could say that Alfred Pennyworth is a sex symbol?
Yes.
It's no offense, obviously, intended to Sean or to Michael Caine or to Michael Gough or anyone who's played it before.
Yeah.
But so many headlines I've read is like, Alfred is sexy and young now, and it was.
He's the only one we'd have sex with. Yeah.
All at the same time.
Well, I think we're just so used to seeing Alfred Pennyworth in a particular light. Like, obviously, he's been played by more experienced actors, let's say, for a long time. And we did have some younger actors, and I think we're going to have Andy Serkis playing him later next year. But I guess, like, when it came to playing it, so many people were saying, who's he gonna tell? Who's he going to emulate the most? And I have to commend you on the fact that I did notice a bit of Michael Caine, and I personally saw a bit of Sean Pertwee as well. But you also managed to imbue him with his own and your own personality and some of your own performance, which I think is great for someone who is already so established. So I had to congratulate you on that. And how difficult is it to make your own character for someone who is so well known?
Well, thanks. First off, good way to start an interview. I think really a lot of that work was done for me with Bruno's script, because he was so well formed anyway, even, you know, with obviously, because he's always been older, never seen the relationship with his parents and stuff like that, or he's sort of always been kind of famously single, really, hasn't he, and in later life. So things like that, and just normal young people things, which Bruno wrote a very, I think, you know, very real sort of reflection of that. So a lot of it was done for me, but also, you know, the look of the show and the world in which it's set, I think, is sort of kind of unique as well. So but voice wise, a bit of Michael Caine, but
fantastic. Paloma, I feel you had a tough one, because Batman, I think, has the greatest lineup of villains in comic book history, and I guess in movie history as well. Like, his villains are great. So you coming in as a brand new villain could set people back a bit. Like, well, we already have such a number of great villains already. Do we really need another one? And seeing you have so much fun playing someone so evil made it a lot of fun to watch, because if someone's having fun in a role, you can't help but have fun watching them in that role. So I just, like, every time you were on screen, I was like, there's a nervous energy to it, and I enjoyed that so much, because I had no idea what you're going to do next, and it looked like you were having a blast.
Thank you, Rory. That's fantastic. So, yeah, I did have fun, and I worked a lot with. Well, basically, I weirdly sort of grew up in this type of London a bit. Mm-hmm. So when I was younger, I sort of used to do like little odd jobs for people who were like outsiders in society, and I never asked what was in the envelope, but I used to like drop a lot of envelopes off for people for like extra cash, and I'd sort of, you know, like, because I was just a girl and I wouldn't get stopped or anything.
Sure.
And I'd do it for stuff like a can of Coke, or like, you know, like, do you want to get me a can of Coke? Drop this to number 72 then. And then I'd get a can of Coke, sort of thing. So I sort of knew quite a lot of people, and I met a few London gangsters, and their wives were a particular type of woman that I feel like I've based Bet Sykes on, that I was always quite in awe of, because, I mean, Bet's not as glamorous in the first few episodes as she ends up being. But these sort of gangsters' wives were quite glamorous women, and they're quite foreboding. But you can sort of tell that, like, it's a defense mechanism because they've got their own story where they've maybe been damaged.
Mm-hmm.
So I spoke to Bruno a lot about it and how I'd like met some women like that, and that that's how I'd interpreted it in my audition. And they said that they loved it because a lot of the other people who'd cast for it had been sort of more villain, like a cliche villain. And I've tried to, I quite like the unpredictability for a villain. I just feel like you would never know. Like, the reason, if you're a good villain that lasts and isn't killed or arrested, it's because you need to not be instantly recognisable as a villain.
Yeah.
You have to be able to play with being a bit normal as well.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's what I'm trying to do.
I think you did that fantastically well. I think I've got just enough time for 2 rapid fire answers if you're all game.
Yeah.
So, who in all of Batman's villainy is your favorite villain, and you can't say the Joker because everyone says the Joker? Sorry. Whoever wants to go first.
I don't know anything about comic.
Is Catwoman a villain?
Chucky.
Yeah, I'd say Catwoman.
Is she a villain? Yeah. Or Danny DeVito's Penguin.
Danny DeVito's Penguin is iconic, absolutely.
That's
Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman is iconic.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, as Catwoman. It's fantastic.
Said that, babe.
You can share it. You can share the same answer. That's cool. And one final question. At the end of season 1, I think it's fair to say you're all in a bad place. Each and every one of you are in a real low point. Would you say it's fair to assume that season 2 could be overall quite a bit darker than the first season? Would it be like the Dark Knight to Batman Begins, or, you know, as the progression goes on, it is a darker season overall?
Yeah, definitely. We got a third of the way through it before we were shut down for COVID. So yeah, it definitely is. It takes place a year on, and it just goes even darker and
we don't really get the script in advance because Bruno kind of writes it as he goes along. So
we often
have a script and then we're waiting, and we don't get them until 2 weeks before we shoot them.
Right. Okay.
So we know that it's very dark in the first third. But who knows? It might be all unicorns and rainbows in the next.
Watch this space. Watch this space and what you can do. Jack, Plum, and Ben, thank you all so much for taking the time to talk to me today. Really appreciate it.